Well, good afternoon, everyone. I am here with a amazing young lady, Miss Danika Ostrowski, who is in our gallery right now, and I'm super thrilled. We are going to actually talk about some really cool things with her. She was one of our artists in residence. What was it like, maybe 5, 6 years ago?
Yeah, 6, I think.
And she's going to talk about some of those pieces from when she started with that, and you can see how she's grown and how all this work seems really similar, and just I can't wait to get into it. So Danica, I'm gonna, just in case some people don't know who you are, give us a little bit of quick background of who you are.
Yeah, thanks. I'm Danica, and I'm originally from Houston. I graduated from Texas A&M, class of 2015, with a degree in visualization, and
Wow.
I uh, did the the College Station Artist in Residency program with the Arts Council the summer before my senior year. uh, so that was in 2014. And when I graduated, I moved to Austin, which is where I still live and work, and basically kind of launched my career as an independent studio artist. So yeah, I thought it would be really fun today to talk about a little bit about my work then, when I first had my show with the Arts Council, and
Yeah.
kind of how that really kick-started my career and where I'm at now, and some of the similarities and some of the differences in my work between 6 years ago and today.
Yes, which I absolutely love that that program kickstart you into an amazing career for you. And so I really enjoy watching the residencies go through that program. And so I'm glad that you're here to testimony with a testimony of that how great it helped you. So you want to get started?
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
Here's our first slide.
So this is from my solo exhibit at the end of my residency. So that residency lasted the full summer. Um, and then I had a show up for, I think, the full month of August and maybe September in 2014. Um, and this was, of course, at the old location for the Arts Council.
Mhm.
Um, and I, it was such a cool program because I really wanted to pursue a career in fine art, but it was super scary to just graduate and like just suddenly
Yep.
enter this world that is a little bit unknown and a little bit scary. Um, and so what was really cool about the residency program, and that one specifically, is that I had the opportunity to hang my first solo exhibition. And I learned so many things, uh, from as simple to as how to prepare my work in a professional way to be hung in a gallery, how to professionally hang it, and photograph it, and market it and talk about my work in front of people, um, and going through that experience with people along the way that could help me kind of figure that out and answer questions, as opposed to if I had just kind of like entered the art world on my own and tried to figure it out, um, all being really fresh. So it was super helpful to me, and I really consider it a huge part of my education during my time in college. um, it was fabulous, and I loved the experience, and I really learned from it that I wanted to pursue art as a career, which was awesome that I was kind of able to. It was almost like a trial run for me, kind of getting to work as an artist for a summer to see how that went. So um all that being said, this image is from that show. It was called Multiplicity, and I had a series of works that sort of focused on um, our human gravitation towards objects and multiples. So
Mhm.
from people who have collections and all sorts of many of the same object, to that landscape there that has a field and it has a whole bunch of hay bales. I was always fascinated when I would drive through Texas,
Yeah.
just seeing fields that just have like hay bales perfectly kind of spaced out, and you just
Right.
see them kind of dotting the horizon. And that was really my first landscape painting, that one there. And I think the next slide has it up a little bit closer.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah. And so my work was a little different than I was using a palette knife as opposed to brushes, which I use now.
Wow.
So I actually had a little bit more of an impressionistic style than I do now, although I've started bringing that back a little bit in the
Mhm.
past year or so, and that's sort of prevalent in some of the paintings in the show that's hanging now. Um, but I do like the kind of really wide and large scale of this. It's very reminiscent of another piece that I'll show in a couple slides down.
Yeah.
That kind of format has always been very like attractive and appealing to me.
Yeah,
But I also had a lot of, oh, go ahead, sorry.
I was like, wow, like you really captured that hay pasture very well. And I like how those are bright blue colors because usually that's what it's like, you know, very bright sky in the middle of summer, you know.
Yeah, they're like super, super bright blue sky and then
Mhm.
just like vibrant, like dead grass because it's so hot.
Right, right.
Um, yeah, yeah.
Very cool.
Um, so yeah, so this was sort of my first landscape, and I do predominantly landscapes now.
Mhm.
Um, Everything that's hanging in the show that's currently on display are landscapes. And this was sort of my first foray into it, and I never really saw myself as being a landscape painter, but this piece was intriguing to me when I was working on it, and I really enjoyed working on it, and so I sort of, it was the first one, and I started working with landscapes a little bit more and more, sort of after the residency program, and that I just sort of fell in love with it, and the travel that came along with
Wow.
gathering reference and photos for landscapes. So at the time, my other work in that show, which I think the next couple show up close,
Okay, you
were way
you wanna go to the
more.
next one?
Yeah, go ahead and go to the next one.
Okay.
I did more still life. So I had this, I had sort of these companion pieces of really large work and really small pieces.
Right.
And we kind of talked about in our last live video how it dawned on me during that video, the recording we did, of that this show also has that kind of my fascination with working really small and working really large.
Right.
Um, and because I also have in the show that's hanging now pieces that are really tiny and pieces that are really large, but they're focusing on the same subject matter. So this piece is the scroll of a violin, and then if you go to the next slide, there is this triptych piece that I did of a violin shop, um, down in Houston, and I had these very close together. So the piece previously is only 12 inches by 12 inches, and this one I
So
think is
so this one is 12 by 12?
12 by
Wow.
12, very small. And then the large triptych I think is, I'm gonna say 90 inches across. So it
Oh,
was fairly substantial.
and
Um,
where did you get this? In Houston? You got a picture of it in Hu it's a place in Houston?
yeah,
Wow.
I play the violin, and so I went down to one of the shops that I had purchased a violin from and asked if I could photograph. So my, again, this painting looks very, very different than the work I'm doing now, but it's funny when I look at it now, I see so many things that actually I feel like are very relevant to what I do now. Um, the format of it alone, it's a triptych, so it's 3 panels. And I still love working in that format, and it's kind of similar to the Grand Canyon piece I have in the show now, which is 3 panels. I think there is actually the exact same size.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
and
Oh,
I
we have
love
a
that.
comment too from
Yeah.
BCS Children's Art Class with Amanda Lee. She says, I remember this one. Do you did you do the bolts?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I think that one might be, if you go up to the first slide, the bolts are in, it's like a box of bolts. Yeah. Over far on the right side there
Oh,
are the
wow.
it's up close of a box of bolts.
Oh, wow.
And then there's Bottle Cap Alley is that center one, and then there's, like, the locks, the bridge. I can't remember the one of the bridges in Europe that has all the locks, the love locks on
Oh,
them.
yeah, the love locks. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
cool.
it was a fun show, it was really cool, and I don't know, it was really, really interesting subject matter and very different than what I do now, so.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you, Amanda, for bringing that up. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Yay. Yay. Okay. So this is about the same size as the one that we have in the
Yeah.
gallery right now, which is the Grand Canyon, which, by the way, every time I walk into the gallery and I see that, it is just absolutely gorgeous. I'm like,
Oh,
where
thank you.
would I have a spot in my house for this? It is amazing. And I love how it's, it's 3 panels, but it's not 3 panels. I don't know. You guys, if y'all have not seen this piece, y'all have got to come to the gallery and see it. Free admission, just come in. We've been doing everything we can to keep everyone safe from COVID. So just come check it out. Very, very nice. And yeah, amazing piece.
Thank you, that's very sweet.
Yeah.
Um, one of the other thing I think is similar is that both of them feel very immersive. Like I really want to suck the viewer like straight into the scene, and the scale of them also does that, right? Like
Right.
it's so large that if you are close enough to it, it does take over your peripheral vision a little bit. And this piece did that as well. Um, yeah. So, I can't remember what is the next slide.
The next slide is
Oh yeah, this guy. So this piece is hanging in the show currently, but it's actually an older piece for me. So this was actually I showed in my very second solo exhibition, which was at Seed Gallery in Bryan.
wow.
Um, and it's been in my parents' house for the past 6 or 5 or so years, but they have recently moved and don't have space for it anymore. Um, but they were trying to figure out what to do with it because they didn't have space for it, and I took it back and I had it in my studio and was just noticing how similar it really is to the work I do now, and it was stylistically very different from the rest of that show, even though that show was all landscape work.
Right.
Um, this one stylistically kind of breaking the form of the landscape down into geometry, but still having it feel very organic and kind of having this like flow and movement to it. It fits right in with the work I'm doing now. And so I decided to include it in this show because, again, kind of the large scale multi-panel pieces all work together really nicely.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, because your work, whenever you do it in a panel, like each panel, you can tell that you did it perfectly. Like it goes together. So,
Yeah, yeah, I try to do them when space allows in my studio. I don't have that big of a studio, but I do try to have them all up at one time when I'm working,
oh, wow.
if at all possible. Yeah.
Very cool. Wow.
And I think the next couple are an example now. See, so this is it reminds me so much of that first one with the hay bales, right? It's again like
Right.
it's
Yeah.
repetition, it's super wide as far as the format. And it's not hay bales, but it's the Ocotillos and Big Bend. And I was kind of thinking about all of the similarities that are really have come up in from my previous work. And I used to think that show was so different than what I do now, but as I've been thinking about it, and this whole show that I would have with you guys now has kind of made me reminisce about things. I realized that there's so many things that are still very intriguing to me and very interesting to me and kind of naturally come out of my work. So this one, and then the next one is a smaller version. So again, that teeny tiny, this is 8 by 8 inches, I think. Um, Teeny tiny versus really large. The other one is, I think, 60 inches across. So kind of that fascination of small and large has always been interesting to me as well. So yeah, those are a few of the pieces that are in the show now that I thought were kind of fun to look at in contrast to where I was 6 years ago. And Yeah, I'm just super, super thankful for the opportunities that the Arts Council has given me from 6 years ago when I had no idea what I was doing. um, to now when I'm at least am probably better at pretending that I know what I'm doing.
No, you can totally tell. I absolutely love that you're showing us what you had when, because I wasn't here when you first came through your residency. So I'm super excited you're doing this because I can see that similarities of what you're talking about, but I also can see how you've grown as an artist because I can tell that it looks more detailed. You're picking some different colors. It seems to flow better. I don't know. I just think that you're growing as an artist, and I just love that.
Yeah, well, thanks. I know. Yeah, it can sometimes be a little cringeworthy to look back at older work. But there are a few pieces from that first show I really, really still love, and I'm really proud of. But you're right. I have grown a lot, and my style has developed more, and I feel like I really have more of a voice as an artist now, than I did, of course, when I started. So.
Yes. Yes. But yeah, I wish I could have seen the bottle caps and the bolts that they were talking about. So you might have to send me a close up of those so I can check it out.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, that was really cool. Very cool. And this is one that you have in our gallery now too.
Yeah, this one is really kind of different for me. It's kind of the direction I'm going in, I think, as far as kind of looking forward. Um, the style of it is it's taking scenes that are a little bit more simplistic in kind of their nature and their composition, but kind of focusing on the nuances and shifts of color. Um, and I there's all sorts of different places that I've been that I fall in love with like the sequence of color that you see from the sky to the foreground.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
and sometimes I'll do like little mini sketches, and all they are just stripes of color. Um, like a light blue at the top, and then a little tiny strip of that bright blue to the like kind of muddled green purple, and
Yeah.
then that bright chartreuse with that bright salmon underneath. And I'll do little sketches like that that are simply just getting the color kind of pattern down, right? And then really, really pushing the boundaries of how I can use bright color, um, without it feeling overdone and oversaturated. So yeah, that was kind of a really fun piece to work on, and one of my favorites in the show.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. Is there anything we're about to wrap everything up? Is there anything you want to add before we close up a little bit?
Oh gosh, I don't know. It's cool that some of you are watching saw the first show. If you haven't seen the new one, you definitely should try to get over there if you're able to.
Exactly.
And I'd love comments on seeing the progress over the past few years. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all I've got today.
So Danica is in our gallery until November 14th. So you must come check this out. And while you are here, we have the winners of our mass competition in the College Station lobby area right now. And I absolutely love all this work because it shows some kids, it shows older people who've been doing this for a while. It even has some of our artists in residence, some of our people that have gone through our camps. It has a mother and daughter team. It has a mother and a son team, like absolutely amazing people from the community showing us what their mask would be like. So you've got to check that out. And it's also happening until November 14th. And happening tomorrow is Brazos Valley Gives. And thank goodness we have an amazing person who has donated anonymously a matching gift of $10,000. So this is one way to double your donation and help us out with many things that the Art Council does, like our artist in residency program that is so beneficial to quite a few people and our scholarships. We've got some other programs. We just do amazing things here at the Arts Council, and this is one way that you can support us and double your donation. Another thing we have happening is the Texas Tumbler contest. Danica, you probably should look through some of your work. I bet you might have the perfect piece to enter in this. It's super easy. You just go to our website at acbb.org to check out all the rules and details, but it needs to be Texas theme. And what we are going to do with this tumbler is going to be a collector's item to go along with our boots and barbecue, which is a fundraiser for the Arts Council, and it is happening March 27th, 2021. So mark your calendars and be ready for that. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to reach us here at the Arts Council. And we can't do what we do without the City of Bryan and the City of College Station and all the support that they give us. And feel free to reach out, and we would love to see y'all come in and see Danica's work. She does an absolutely amazing job of these national parks, and I'm telling you, that Grand Canyon picture, absolutely love that. It's just every time I walk into the gallery, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm in the Grand Canyon, like literally in the Grand Canyon. That's how detailed, that's how, you've positioned it. I mean, it's awesome. You do amazing work.
Thank you. Thanks.
You're welcome. Well, thank y'all for joining us. Good night. Y'all be safe, and join us tomorrow with Brazos Valley Gives. Thank you.
Thanks, y'all.